Hello everyone, my name is Mike, and this is the board. Welcome back to yet another episode. Today I'm talking video games. Today I'm talking one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. One of my favorites. Top 5 easily. That is Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage. As a 90s kid, these were an imperative if you had a Sega Genesis. And I did, or my father did, thus I did. And I even have a picture of me playing this in the early 90s. Playing, I think it was Streets of Rage 2. Now, I can't verify that. I'm going to show the picture here. I can't verify I was playing Streets of Rage 2, but if memory serves me, I was. And look at that face of determination. Only Streets of Rage could cause that face on a young child. Streets of Rage means so much to me. It is a transcendent video game for me. It connects me to my childhood. It is a direct bridge to my childhood. The music, the aesthetic, the coolness of it. This also goes hand in hand with movies, action movies. Streets of Rage is a franchise, an action franchise, a beat-em-up franchise to be exact, on the Sega Genesis and later on the Switch, which I'll get to, that exemplifies why we love action movies. It's just, there's very little story, which I'll get into, but it's just a group of police officers on the streets of Rage, beating the hell out of thugs, drug dealers, lowlives, scum. This series is known as Bare Knuckle in Japan, but here in America and elsewhere, I believe, it's known as Streets of Rage. I like both titles, but obviously to me, Streets of Rage, this is Streets of Rage. I understand in Japan it's Bare Knuckle, other places it may be Bare Knuckle, but for me, this series is Streets of Rage. Now, the story is very simple, like I said. It follows a crime syndicate boss called Mr. X, who has sort of sucked up all the police in the area and has corrupted the politics of the town and is just running the show. This big, fat, greasy, cigar-chewing guy. But Mr. X is the big bad guy here, and you fight through like 7 or 8 stages, I think it's 8, to get to Mr. X and beat the shit out of him. And it is a glorious experience. Now, this franchise on its face is one of the best beat-em-up franchises of all time. The sequel is even better than the first one, and I will get to that in a second. But this series is catapulted into greatness, if it wasn't already, because of its solid gameplay and aesthetic, its super 90s neon-lit aesthetic. It's catapulted to greatness because of Yuzo Koshiro's music. Yuzo Koshiro is one of my favorite composers, period, of all time. The Streets of Rage music I listen to on a weekly basis. That is not hyperbole. I am not kidding. On the way to work, while I'm editing, I listen to the Streets of Rage music. In specific, the first game and the second game. And the third game, I will get to why I don't listen to that music as much. It's very good, I just don't listen to it as much. Now, I definitely have to mention Motohiro Kawashima, who is the co-producer for the music on the Streets of Rage games. All 3 of them. In fact, all 4 of them. And so you wouldn't have this without Motohiro Kawashima, so I had to mention him. But I want to say, I don't want to discredit him, but the true mastermind, I believe, is Yuzo Koshiro. He was influenced heavily by late 80s sort of American and European dance music and hip-hop, and all of that is sort of amalgamated into these scores. The first level, fighting in the street, the music is fantastic, really gets things pumping. It's a thumping sound, thumping song. But my favorite track, it's probably top 3 in terms of all Streets of Rage music, but Moon Beach is one of the greats. This song makes me tear up in joy almost every time I listen to it. And I've heard it 1,000 times since I was like 3 years old. This came out in 1991, so I was 3 or 4 when I played this first, and boy was it glorious. And I remember these times, playing this game with my father. I want to also say the characters in this are iconic. Axel, Adam Hunter, and Blaze. And they are cops who beat the shit out of all the bad guys, I've already said it. And they have a really cool special move. You get a couple special moves per stage, and the special move is basically them calling for backup, and then a cop pulls up in a car and shoots a bazooka, which inflames the whole map, killing all the guys, or at least knocking them down. It's awesome. So that is Streets of Rage, and sort of an introduction into the franchise. One of my favorites of all time. I know I've said that already. This game was also really special to me and my father because it was a 2-player game, a 1 or 2-player game. So that is Streets of Rage, a really solid beat-em-up. Not the best in the franchise, though. In my opinion, the best in the franchise, and one of my favorite games of all time, probably top 5, is Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 2 is absolutely phenomenal. It is quintessential 90s beat-em-up. This game came out in 1992 during the holiday season, and my father got this at least close to day one. Again, I can't verify any of this, but it was very close. He got a lot of the new games, especially cool ones like this, the action-oriented ones. He got a lot of these day one, and then we played them together. And these are memories I cherish to this day, and are definitely connected to my love for these games. No doubt about it, I recognize that, but this game is phenomenal. It actually is a lot better in terms of gameplay, tightness, and pacing, and music by Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima. Yuzo really comes into his own here. Every single song on this album plays out like a score to a movie. It is cinematic, it is pulsating, it is pounding, it is diverse. He goes from hardcore dance tracks to jazzy sort of hip-hop tracks, and the main theme of this song is both foreboding and poignant, with an incredible synth line. I have goosebumps all over my arm. I love the music to this game. One of my favorite albums of all time. Any music, period. Now, the story is a little bit more complex, actually, and it has to do with one of the new characters in this film, who is actually Adam Hunter's son, who goes by the name of Skate. Such a cool 90s character. Skate with the backwards hat, and the roller skates, of course, and he's kicking the shit out of dudes. And Skate finds, I think it's something along the lines of, Skate's home gets burnt down, and sort of on the front door or something, or near the front door, is a picture of Mr. X. And so he's out for blood after what the guys did to him in the first game. Axel, Blaze, and Adam Hunter. And so they are pulled back in. Now, Adam actually isn't in this movie, or in this game. Skate comes in to replace him, and there's actually another character named Max, who is a wrestler, and he's super slow moving, but he's very powerful. That's the cool thing about this game. Whereas in the first one, they all pretty much had the same abilities, all the same speed. In the second game, they have their abilities vary a little bit. You know, Blaze is a little faster, and she's more acrobatic. Axel is sort of like your straight man, your average in all aspects guy. Skate's the quick one. He can skate really fast, and Max is sort of the big, hulking brute. And so it has more depth in terms of gameplay in that sense. There are more attacks. There's like a backwards attack, you know, where Axel will like punch behind him. There are special attacks that sort of are like blitz attacks, I think they're called, and they take away a little bit of your life, of course, like a lot of the old beat-em-ups do. So you have to use them sparingly, use them wisely. This game has even cooler aesthetics. The characters look even better in their 16-bit glory. The backgrounds, the themes of the backgrounds are even cooler. We get into some weird, sort of trippy alien stuff at some point. The boss music is so great. That's something I didn't talk about in the first one, were the bosses, which are awesome. But the bosses are even more awesome in Streets of Rage 2. This game knocks my socks off to this day. I still sit down and play this at least once a year. And probably now that I've dug them out, I'm going to have to play them again. Especially Streets of Rage 2 and the next one coming up that I'll talk about in a second. But Streets of Rage 2... I cannot express to you how much I love this game. It is one of my favorites of all time. The music, go listen to the music now. Just put it on while you're cleaning the house, while you're putting your movies away, whatever. Listen to the Streets of Rage 2 music. It holds up remarkably well. It's some of the best video game music, especially chiptune, that you will ever hear. I think video game music, period. It is amazing. Streets of Rage 2, I'll show you guys. I do have it complete here. Now, I would love to upgrade this copy. I don't think it's the copy I had when I was a kid, because there was a time where my father traded in a bunch of stuff for the PS1. That'll be a story for another day. But it does have a sticker on the artwork there, which kind of drives me a little crazy. But yeah, the artwork's so fantastic. As a kid, I always thought it was funny that this "Don't Walk" sign is like making up this bad guy's head. I always thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, great cover, great artwork. I love it. Might as well show you the first one too. I do have this complete as well. And just awesome. Awesome artwork all over the place. Some of my favorite games ever. And that leads me to a game that, admittedly, I have not played nearly as much as the first two. I guess at this point, when this came out in 1994, I was playing a lot of other stuff. The Atari Jaguar. I mean, I was, playing Sega CD, Sega Saturn. I want to say all those came out around that time. Maybe Saturn was 95. But I was playing other things. I was playing Super Nintendo, of course. So many other consoles. My father got all the new consoles, so I was always busy playing games, and he got a lot of the new games too. I'm very grateful for that. My father was a collector and a lover of this stuff, just like I was. But then in 94, Streets of Rage 3 would come out. Streets of Rage 3 I did play as a kid, but I didn't play it nearly as much as the first two. I do remember there being more of a story. There were cutscenes even in this game, which were really cinematic, really cool, and I loved those as a kid. The gameplay was even faster. There were secret characters. There were more moves. There were obviously new characters, like this guy, and I forget his name, but he had an electronic arm that would extend. Like a cyborg arm, essentially. And then you had the kangaroo, like the boxing kangaroo. Like, what? Why is there a boxing kangaroo? It was very weird. Sega was doing some weird stuff around this time. So was Konami with, Contra Hardcore. There was, a wolf guy with the humans. And these games in 94 were really trying to keep up with the technology and just give you something fast-paced and blast-processed, of course. And both Contra Hardcore and this game were sort of sped up. Now, with that said, again, I didn't play this as much, but I do remember really loving it. I want to sit down. This is the game I actually want to go back to more than any. Of course, I want to go back to 1 and 2 as well, but this one I haven't played enough, and I actually haven't even beaten it. So I need to play this game. Some of the added things it says here, 2-player combo attacks. That's right, I do remember that, where you could... Depending on your positioning, if you're playing 2 players, you could do a cooperation attack. This has head-to-head battles, which was a new addition to the game. Totally new moves, including jump kicks, power slams, spin punches, and secret attacks. A lot of that was in the older games. Now, that leads me to Yuzo Koshiro's and Motohiro Kawashima's music. They were experimenting here quite heavily. There are some really melodic tracks, not many melodic tracks, but the melodic tracks are the ones that I really do enjoy. But for the most part, this is really experimental dance noise stuff. Like, I mean, like drum beats that are beyond thrash. It's sort of thrashy at points, kind of, too. But I mean, there is just so much noise and chaos and mayhem in terms of the music. I am growing to love the music, I gotta be honest. As a kid, I was like, what's happening? Is this drugs? And like, whereas the first two games, I distinctly remember loving the music as a kid and like bouncing around and, you know, pumping my fists and dancing around with my father to the music, because the music was just so damn good. You gotta understand, in 91, 92, you just didn't get video game music like this. You just didn't get it. And then by 94, Yuzo had matured and Motohiro had matured as artists, and they were like, hey man, we're just gonna go crazy. And crazy they went. I actually want to recommend a YouTube video that is a live taping of Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima doing a live set of the Streets of Rage music, and they're sort of intertwining all the music and making, you know, like, they're DJing, obviously. These guys are obviously DJs. And they're sort of improvising on their machines and on their musical instruments. And it is awesome. And the crowd involvement really gets you pumped up and gives you goosebumps. And it's just absolutely awesome. I would kill to watch these guys perform their Streets of Rage masterpieces live. I would weep. I would cry. Probably through the entire thing. I'm getting emotional thinking about the prospect of that. I don't think they'll ever come to the US to do a concert. We just don't appreciate video game music in this country like we should, I think. I think video game music is music. It's music, and it should be viewed and appreciated as music. Either way, I believe this concert was out in Japan, and it's awesome, so check out that video. But yeah, Blaze is back, Axel is back. I do remember that all of the characters run in this one, whereas in Streets of Rage 2, only Skate was able to skate really fast or run, which does add a speed to the game, no doubt about it. But like I said, guys, I need to play this again. Absolutely. I've neglected it for too long, and I want to say thank you to my sister Nicole. Love you, sis, because she got this for me a few years back. It was the only Streets of Rage game I didn't have. A few years back, I want to say for Christmas or for my birthday, which was an incredible gift. I couldn't believe she splurged on this for me. This game is not cheap these days, and I will say, it's missing the manual, Nicole, so what's up with that? I'm totally kidding. I'm going to be able to track down the manual, no problem. But yeah, Streets of Rage 3, there's the cart. And the artwork, of course. So thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate it. That, guys, is Streets of Rage 3, a game I still need to complete. And last, goddamn certainly not least, Streets of Rage 4. Came out earlier this year. Limited Run did a limited run of physical copies, and I was there day one. Quite literally minute one. Streets of Rage 4 comes out 26 years later. And I was skeptical, man. I was skeptical when this was announced. I looked at the artwork and I was like, okay, it's very, how do I say? Cartoony, I guess you could say. It's more cartoony. It's not pixelated. It's very artistic. It grew on me, the artwork, as the trailer came out, and I got super excited. I was following this game for the 2 years leading up to when it was coming out, maybe even more than that. And so the artwork kind of I was like skeptical about, but I ended up liking. And then the big one, the big drop, was that Yuzo Koshiro was coming back to do the music for the theme song, and some other contributions to the soundtrack as well. The main composer on this is Olivier Devenier, French composer. I probably butchered his name. I'll put it right here. Who does a really good job carrying the torch. I have to say, I'll get into the gameplay here, but obviously I want to talk about the music because Streets of Rage, the music and the gameplay are intertwined. There could not be one without the other. Olivier does a really good job carrying the torch from Yuzo Koshiro and Motohiro Kawashima, who also comes back and makes some contribution to the score. And I was able to tell immediately which pieces were done by those guys, which says something about their authorship, about their work. And they've come a long way. But the majority of the soundtrack is done by Olivier, I forgot his last name, and a whole bunch of other artists, independent artists that contribute tracks. But it makes up for a cohesive, smooth flowing soundtrack that actually has dynamic transitions, guys. As you progress in the level, so does the music. It is remarkably done. Very good programming in terms of music program. I don't even know what to call that. But the music transition and changes with your progression through the stage, and some of these drops are just amazing. Some of these transitions are just absolutely jaw-dropping. And the first time playing through this game, you know, it's hard because you're playing the game and loving it, and then you're listening to the music, and you're just like grooving to the music, and now the music is growing on me, boy. I liked it a lot at first, but now I love it. It's added to the rotation, right? Now, I want to say my favorite piece, hands down, no question about it, is Yuzo Koshiro's new Streets of Rage 4 theme. I have goosebumps. This theme drops with this incredibly cool synth line. That just transports you into the world of Streets of Rage 4. And it is so Streets of Rage, it is so chill, but at the same time, brand new feeling, you know, fresh feeling. It feels like a day at the beach. But there's a little bit of that foreboding nature to it, which Yuzo does so goddamn well. And that theme song, I sat on the couch last month, put the game in, and I knew it was going to be a religious experience. But man, I started tearing up and just getting so excited when that theme dropped, because I had not heard the theme up to that point. I had avoided all the music purposefully because I wanted it to be organic when I sat down and played the game for the first time, and God, was it organic. It just blew me away. Love the music, especially Yuzo's theme here. It's so good. He does the character select screen and some other pieces here and there. It's awesome. Now, what about the gameplay? How does the gameplay hold up? Is it a good game? The music's awesome, but does that mean that the game is up to snuff? Well, I'm here to tell you all, my fellow Streets of Rage fans, my movie fans, anybody who's watching, Streets of Rage 4 is one of the best Streets of Rage games. I don't put one over the other because nostalgia connects me to these. 2 will always be my favorite. I think 2 will always be my favorite, but god damn is the gameplay tight in Streets of Rage 4. And addictive. And they've tweaked the gameplay, of course, because it's been 26 years. The beat-em-up genre has come a long way, and it proves to me that the beat-em-up genre could make a comeback, because there's a lot you can do with the modern beat-em-up. Some of the changes to the style, I've already laid out the style. Walking down the street, beating the hell out of punks. That's what Streets of Rage is. But this game actually makes it so, one of the cool things that I noticed right off the bat, sometimes when you hit an enemy, depending on how you hit them, and this plays into the combo system, which is very addictive, very fun, and allows you to rack up points and combos. It's very cool. And you can get better and better at it. The first thing I noticed is when you hit them off the side of the frame, where the frame cuts off, they bounce back in. And you can continue beating their lifeless body that's like in space and kicking the shit out of it. And that's really, really cool in terms of a gameplay update, because in the older games, you'd kick enemies off the screen, and it would be as if the screen actually kept going. So you'd kick them off the screen, and then you'd have to sit there and wait, like, come on, Get up!
Get up, you son of a bitch!
You'd have to sit there and wait for them to walk back onto screen so you could beat the shit out of them, kick them away again, and rinse and repeat. Which is great. I mean, it's part of what makes it, you know. But they do make it better in Streets of Rage 4. They do. And I thought that was a really cool gameplay update. You have all the old sounds. Not all of them, but boo, you know, sort of the, when you pick up weapons, or actually that's the health sound, I want to say. And that's the thing, the combat just has so much more depth, and it does have a learning curve, and you become more and more fluent with it. Now, all the characters are different, so you really have to master each character, but things become more and more fluid as you get better and better at the game. So there is a mastery curve to the controls, for sure, but the controls are tight. They aren't clumsy, but there is a bit of a curve, I will say, to really get it down and understand, the special moves. Actually, the special moves, the ones that used to take away your life, in this game, they still do take away your life, but if you hit a bunch of enemies within a certain amount of time, you can gain that life back, which I kind of like. It's sort of an assistance system, I will say, but I always hated that as a kid, and I get why they had it so that you couldn't abuse it. You couldn't just spam the special attack because you just rip through the game. So I get why they used to use it, but it used to drive me crazy because some games, they used to take off a good chunk of your health. So Streets of Rage 4 does have something sort of to back that. You know, if you use it, you can hit the enemies and you can gain some of that health back, if not all of it, if you do it within the right amount of time. And I forgot to mention, like, all the vocalizations that our characters make in the older games, like Julia and things like that, things that are just embedded into my memory. Those are back. I think that's Adam Hunter. I always thought, like, when I got older that he was saying, like, Julia, like, Julia. Either way, Julia. It's awesome. Each have their distinctive sounds, and they all sound similar to how they did in the old 16-bit classics. And so we have a bunch of characters here, which is awesome. One of the coolest things is you can unlock the original 16-bit pixelated characters from the old games. I've only unlocked the first 3 from Streets of Rage, the original Streets of Rage, Blaze, Adam, and Axel. I'm imagining that they're going to have all the characters in 16-bit format unlockable, which is going to be amazing. So I cannot wait to continue playing this. But you have Axel, who's, since 26 years have passed, he's all grizzled and scarred up and even more buff than he was. Like, he's super buff now. Torn shirts and, like, torn to shreds. Like, just such an awesome progression of his character. Blaze is back, same sort of thing, war-torn. She is back and kicking ass as usual. Adam Hunter is actually an unlockable character in this game. He's one of the first that I unlocked, at least. I don't know if it's, like, the same for everyone, but he's back. But 2 of the main characters you get to choose right off the bat are brand new to Streets of Rage 4. The first one, who I played as first, which I thought was so cool, is Cherry Hunter, another one of Adam's kids. Skate, I haven't unlocked yet. I haven't seen him yet. But instead of Skate, we get Cherry. And Cherry is this electric guitar wielding badass who just shreds enemies to death and hits them with her guitar and punches the shit out of them. She runs. That's her skill, sort of like in the original, or Streets of Rage 2, I want to say, with Skate. Each of them have their unique move set. They all function very differently. They're even more unique than the older games. You know, they have more to them in terms of nuance. Not all of them could run. Some of them can dash, like Adam Hunter can dash, which is really cool, and you could dash behind a character and turn around and then just clobber them. The last character that is brand new to this one is Floyd, who looks a lot like Max, I will say, who makes an appearance in this game. The fan service is out of this world in this game. But Floyd is actually a cybernetic apprentice of Dr. Zan from Streets of Rage 3. I will talk about the fan service here. Oh man, there are so many moments where it's like, oh shit, look at that character from the old game, look at that enemy from the old game, music cues from the old game, weapons, things you could pick up. There's these bits where you could punch an arcade machine and go into a 16-bit version, or go into a level from one of the older games, Streets of Rage 1 and 2 that I've run into so far, and you play like old bosses from the game in a completely 16-bit environment as like a sort of bonus level. It is so cool. Now, score comes into play here because you want to rack up the highest score as possible because you get extra lives, which is a standard in video games, especially of this nature, but the extra lives definitely matter because this game gets brutal, especially when you start ramping up the difficulty. I have beat this game completely on normal. I am now working through on hard, and there's so much replay value here, guys. There's stage select, where you could play each stage and sort of master it and get a better and better score on it. There's a rating system for the levels, so you can get anywhere from, I want to say, an F probably to an S, like a super rank. I haven't gotten any super ranks yet. I'm still getting good at it. Still enjoying it so much. There's a boss rush mode, which I haven't tried yet. There's a head-to-head mode, a battle mode, which is great. You can also play the original Streets of Rage 2 music while playing through the game. So yesterday I picked it up and was playing through hard for the first time, and I chose 16-bit Axel and played the old music from Streets of Rage 2, which is just awesome that they have that option. So cool. Again, the fan service is incredible here. The story, again, is really simple, but we have some badass cutscenes like we do in Streets of Rage 3. Those are back. Characters that are sort of some of them you're beating up and then they kind of join you, not in terms of character select. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm not sure if they do. You're fighting your way through the story, which has a lot of really cool locales. The music is fantastic and really fits these locales very well. The story follows the daughter and son, twins, I believe, of Mr. X, of course, who I guess at this point has perished. But these kids have like all this technology, and the final boss is just madness. I'm not going to divulge what it is, but they are the villains of this game. And actually, Yuzo Koshiro does the music, the themes for both X and Y. Or, I'm sorry, Mr. X and Mrs. X, I think they're called. And it's just so cool. Great characters, great anime style to a lot of the artwork and the way it looks. I can't complain. I love the artwork, and it really has grown on me since the first time I saw it. It is excellent. The graphics are amazing. The game retains that very 90s feel. It just bleeds 90s aesthetic and neon-lit streets. That's what Streets of Rage is. So the designers of this game, who have done such a great job, I just gotta shout them out. Lizard Cube, Dotemu, and Guard Crush Games. These guys understand what makes beat 'em ups fun, and especially what made Streets of Rage great. They did an excellent job. I have no complaints, man. I really have no complaints. The gameplay is so tight. I can't nitpick it at all. Maybe the more I play it, I'll be able to pick certain things out. But it's one of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played, and I'm so happy that we still have the genre in 2020. The Switch is made for people from my generation and before me. So many of these games are coming back. So many of these franchises are coming back. And I just think we're going to see it continue on. I'd love to see a new Golden Axe game in this style. That would just be mind-blowing. Oh my god, that would be mind-blowing. So let's keep it rolling. Let's support these companies. Streets of Rage 4 is incredible. I just want to thank you all for sharing this very nostalgic, very passion-fueled video that I had to make. I know this is a movie channel, but I am slowly trying to incorporate video games into it, especially retro stuff, because video games are a huge part of my life, an equal part of my life in terms of movies and games. Both, I don't put one over the other. They are equal. You know, without one, there isn't the other. I grew up with movies just like I grew up with video games, and both of them mean so much to me. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's not the normal thing. Don't worry, more movie videos are definitely coming. But I had to do this video talking about this franchise as a whole. I'd love to know what your thoughts on the Streets of Rage franchise are, so feel free to leave those down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion rolling. As per usual, did you guys grow up with these games? Have you just played Streets of Rage 4 for the first time? Was that the first one you've played? Have you never played these games? Do you not play video games, but like action movies? Streets of Rage might be for you. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you all next time. Bored Cyborg is... Not you again. Julian!